بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. We all have two types of inclinations, two types of tendencies that are always competing with each other. There is a tendency to do the right thing, and there is a tendency to rebel. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put both of these tendencies inside us, and there is only one way to make sure that the good prevails every time, and that is to strive and struggle and endure the hardship that is required when doing the right thing. It's not always easy to do the right thing. But if we knew that we have an enemy, someone who's sworn to destroy us, destroy our families, ruin our life, disgrace us, make us fail as people, make a mockery of us in the world. If we knew that we had an enemy like that, we would be very alert, very careful. We would never do anything that would give him an upper hand over us. Nowadays, if we feel that someone is slightly against us, and we take a lot of measures to make sure that person doesn't succeed. Sometimes it's just paranoia. One student feels that another student is planning something against them or has something against them, and that's it. They're in this mode of not just protecting themselves, but they're on this campaign to spread enough about the other person so that they don't get a chance to do it first. So we also, all of us, have a common enemy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has identified him, has called him out as our enemy. And Allah has said he is an open enemy. He's a sworn enemy, he's an open enemy, which means that he is never going to hold back in trying to destroy us. And that enemy, Shaitan, Iblis, is the voice inside our head that always tells us to not do the wrong thing. It's the whisper that says that if you do this wrong thing now, you'll enjoy such and such benefit. And it always strives to overpower the voice that's telling you to do the right thing. So everyone, for example, knows that when we come into the Motala, we sit down quietly, we pray our sunnahs, we sit quietly, and this is our routine. And everyone knows how to do it. But then the little voice pops up in the head and says that let's talk about this, let's do this, let's look over there, let's look at what so-and-so is doing, let's have a conversation. And sometimes there's no reason for it other than we're just fulfilling this, we're responding to this call in our head. We don't know whose voice that is. We just know that there's something telling me to do this, so I'm going to do it. So in every aspect of our deen, Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us the advantages of doing good things and the harms of doing bad things. So we could see for ourselves and not have to listen to that voice. Shaitan made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. I am going to lead every one of your slaves astray. I am going to misguide every single one of them. إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمُ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Except for those that are chosen, those that are sincere, those that are pure, I won't be able to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him some time to work, do whatever work he could do, and give the slaves a chance to prove themselves, prove their loyalty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Shaitan made a lot of crazy promises. وَلَأُضِلَّنَّهُمْ وَلَأُمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُبَتِّكُنَّ آذَانَ الْأَنْعَامِ وَلَآمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. I am going to misguide them. I am going to put all kinds of false hopes. The hope, the expectation of enjoyment, the expectation of success, the expectation of pleasure, the expectation of having fun or enjoying yourself. I would put these false expectations in their hearts at every step. And I'm going to come and urge them. And they're going to respond to my urging, to my convincing in different ways. In one place, he says, ثُمَّ لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ وَعَنْ أَيْمَانِهِمْ وَعَنْ شَمَائِلِهِمْ وَلَا تَجِدُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ شَاكِرِينَ. I am going to approach them from every angle, every possible avenue that I can use to get to them. I am going to use it. I'm not going to spare any effort. And I'm going to find every single person's weak spot or weak spots. And I'm going to know exactly what makes them tick. And I am going to know exactly where to strike, where to take them down. And I will use one mistake and snowball it, make it get bigger and bigger by making them do it again and again and again, and then do the next worst thing, and then do it again and again, and then take them to one level worse. And I'm going to keep doing this until I destroy them all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, Inna ibadi laysa laka alayhim sultan. I am not giving you any control over my slaves. You have no control over them. You have no ability to force them to do anything. إِلَّا مَنِ اتَّبَعَكَ مِنَ الْغَاوِينَ. Those who choose to follow you, those that are astray and they choose to listen to that voice, they choose to listen to your whispers, they choose to listen to that wrong message, well, that's their choice. If they follow you voluntarily, it's their choice. On the Day of Judgment, after all the final decisions have been made, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to erect a mimbar, a pulpit made of fire in Jahannam. And Shaitan is going to sit on that pulpit and he's going to give a talk to all the people that he has led there. And the Quran describes this. وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. Look, people, oh my followers, oh those who have followed me to this place, this pit of Jahannam, Allah made some promises to you and I also made promises to you. The promises of Allah, every single one of them were true. And today you've seen with your own eyes that every promise I made to you was a lie. Shaitan makes promises to us. If you tell such and such lie, for example, you'll get yourself out of such and such problem. But the problems only continue to increase. He'll tell somebody that if you steal such and such thing, then you'll have this thing. You'll be able to enjoy such and such thing. But it only brings problems on that person. And different thoughts, different things he plants in people's minds. But at the end of that, you found that every one of them was a lie because all you were left with were problems and difficulties. وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. Then he will say, look, وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. I didn't have any control over you. I could never make you do those things that you did, all the terrible things that you're here for, that you're here because of. I never made you do them because I couldn't. I didn't have that control over you. إِلَّا أَن دَعَوْتُكُمْ. I called you, I invited you, I made it look really appealing. Shaitan does the marketing, he's great at marketing things. He advertises, he knows how to give everything a very glossy and a beautiful image, make it look really nice, appealing, attractive. And people say, wow, that must be amazing. I've got to do that, I've got to try that. He makes it look advantageous. He'll bring in front of us examples of people who've done that and they appear to be very happy or they appear to be very successful. That's all a part of shaitan's da'wah. إِلَّا أَن دَعُوتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي. I invited you and you responded. That's all that happened. I was giving my da'wah, my invitation. You responded to my invitation. فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't blame me. Don't sit here in Jahannam and blame me. Blame yourselves. مَا أَنَا بِمُصْرِخِكُمْ وَمَا أَنْتُمْ بِمُصْرِخِي. You can't save me now and I can't save you. There's no point in yelling and screaming and blaming now. What's done is done. And all of the things I made you believe, today I'm announcing in front of you that I didn't believe any of those things myself. إِنِّي كَفَرْتُ بِمَا أَشْرَكْتُمُونِي مِنْ قَبْلِ. So that voice that tells us to do the wrong thing, sometimes we don't detect it. Sometimes we don't pick up on it, but it is there. It has a constant presence in our mind because that's what shaitan has committed himself to do. And the first challenge for us is acknowledging that that voice is there and telling the voice, I'm not going to listen to you. This is our first challenge. Normally what happens is we overlook this part, we get carried away, we start doing what the voice tells us to do, and then we start walking on this path, and then it's very difficult to come back. You see, once a person does a bad deed, it becomes hard to come back from it. But when a person does it several times, it becomes harder. With each time, they're making it harder for themselves to come back. The same thing applies to good deeds. Doing a good deed is hard sometimes. But when you do it once, it becomes that much easier to do it again. And when you keep doing a good deed regularly, it's hard to leave it. Each good deed opens up the door for many good deeds. And each bad deed also opens up the door for many bad deeds. Our first challenge is to ignore the call, the invitation to the bad deed, and stick to the good deed when it counts, when it matters. It might be hard at that time, but if we can succeed in doing it that time, it's going to get only easier from there. The first time is the most difficult one. That's why it's a good practice to listen to your teacher the first time they tell you to do something. And to stay away from something the first time they tell you to stay away from it. To test the limits, to say, no, I'm going to try this and see what happens. This is not a wise thing to do because you don't know that you might not ever make it back. You could. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the doors are always open for you. But yourself as a human being, because we're all weak, we might just make it a pattern that I keep doing this, I keep doing this, I keep doing this. I find it hard to break the pattern. Our biggest enemy, collectively and individually, is shaitan. It's not each other. The teachers are not the enemies of the students, and the students are not the enemies of the teachers, and the students are not enemies of each other, and parents are no one's enemies. Our common enemy is Iblis, shaitan. He is the one distracting us, disturbing us, pushing us to do the wrong things, and we respond. We have a choice. Either we can listen to him or we can ignore him. Who wants to listen to a sworn enemy? Only a fool would keep listening to their enemy and say that they're my enemy. If you really hate that enemy, then you'll start by saying, I'm never going to listen to that enemy. These are some things to think about. These things affect us every single day. Every day, we are in this situation of making a choice between doing something right and wrong. And we're not going to be forced to do either, but we need to learn to do the right thing. And we need to learn to immunize ourselves against the attacks of shaitan, because as we progress through life, the attacks of shaitan also get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and build in us the strength and the ability to spend our time in this world without falling into the traps and the tricks of shaitan. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.